This podcast contains general information only and doesn't take into account your personal financial situation or goals. This is Fit for Business with Sonja Pfitz. Episode 1, Being Finance Fit, a podcast series designed for you. Whether you're starting a business, growing your business, or buying a business, it's never too early or too late to think about your debt strategy. Fit for Business with Sonja Pfitz aims to cover everything you need to know, especially if you've tried to navigate the lending space and found it too overwhelming or complicated. Fit for Business is here to help.
Hi and welcome to Fit for Business with Sonja Pfitz. Sonja is a commercial financial strategist helping SMEs, small to medium enterprises or businesses, small businesses, for over 27 years. I'm Pat Panetta from Tell Your Story Media. Episode 1, Being Finance Fit. It's perfect, isn't it? Fit for Business, because she's here, Sonja Pfitz. Hi there.
Hi Pat, how are you?
Great to be starting this podcast series. Now, we want to help people with, as we say, small to medium enterprises and businesses navigate the financial landscape, and it can really take your business to the next level and be a game changer if you can work this out.
That's correct. Yeah, we've certainly seen a lot of changes in the lending landscape since COVID, and that continues to change as we've seen the cash rates go up and lenders are moving in step with that by increasing their interest rates.
Yes.
So for businesses to really become informed and educated, they need to understand what that lending landscape looks like,
right,
how they can implement various strategies within their business, looking at their financials, but also engaging with commercial finance brokers to support them, because it can be a little daunting.
Yep, absolutely.
And having that support mechanism and external counsel to help you through the process will certainly reduce their stress levels. And we all need that.
Yes.
But finding the right financial solution to fit their business, not only now, but also for the future.
And do a lot of businesses avoid this because it seems a bit daunting? Except the way you describe it, it's sort of, if you can work this out, you know, your business will be great. You can take it to the next level. But why does the average person sort of resist, do you think?
I think the average person resists because they try to do it themselves. As we know, a lot of business owners, they're all things to all men.
Yeah.
They're running their business, the production, the employees, HR, all the and their customer relationships. And quite often they think that they can take on the financial element themselves. And I'm not talking about actually looking at their financials on how the business is performing, but what financial solutions do they need to implement to then assist with their objectives and their strategies to play out from there. And unfortunately, finance can be a bit complicated in terms of the language that's used.
Yeah, right.
I think sometimes lenders in general, and I'm not talking about a specific lenders, but lenders in general, they can tend to use language that's confusing.
Yep.
So by having someone like a commercial finance broker demyth some of the theories that have been floating around and a little bit of the scaremongering here and there.
Do you think they deliberately use that sort of language and the scaremongering because it's sort of their domain?
It is a little,
you go there and you think, oh, what are they talking about?
They are, and it helps in one way, in my view, sometimes helps allow the lender to have the slightly upper hand, and a lot of lenders would disagree with me on that, but it does, and it's, you know, they want clients, they need clients because they're businesses themselves, but they need to be in more of in-step and rhythm with customers.
Right.
The average SME who really doesn't play in our space and doesn't get it.
Being finance fit, so let's start with that, and you touched on this, the current landscape with finance and commercial finance. COVID sort of mixed everything up, or it's changed things. Interest rates are on this rise, even though when we're recording this, the last meeting with the RBA, they sort of put it on hold for a while, and we'll see where that all goes. So what are we looking at now? What do our listeners need to know right now as far as taking the first step in that direction?
Yeah, so I think it's important for them to understand during COVID, lenders were very supportive. It was a new world for all of us, and we were all kind of learning on the fly as we went through. Lenders allowed businesses to put existing facilities on payment pauses. Unfortunately, that slightly backfired on us now, and I'll talk about that in a little while later. But also businesses have used the ATO instead of paying their ATO debts. During COVID,
I can relate to a lot of this, okay.
They kind of used it as the fifth banking pillar to support them, and the ATO was supportive during that process too.
Yes.
They had to be. But now as we've started to emerge and we're coming back out of this process, I can't say we're out of COVID technically, but we're back in business.
Yeah.
It's kind of backfired a bit because businesses now have ATO debt levels that they can't meet, and that's putting enormous stress on them. They don't know how to accommodate that. How do they pay it? The payment pauses, lenders have now sort of put their foot down and said, well, we can't actually lend you any more money because you had a payment pause. We need you to trade on a bit further for us to see how you're coping, how your performance is going to be able to service any new debt that we're potentially
in a way, they've
giving.
looked at that payment pause and put a red flag on there saying we've paused your payment, so now we don't want to play yet.
Yes.
Which is a little unfair because COVID was something that we couldn't see and we needed help.
That's right.
So it doesn't mean that you're not running your business correctly. But anyway, the banks don't like the fact that they had to pause the payments for a while. Yes?
Yeah. So as I said, they were supportive, but they want to see how the businesses are trading post-COVID, if we can call it post-COVID. So it's kind of bit us in the bum a little bit in that respect. So they want to see the businesses are trading more profitably, that they're able to service any new debts that they acquire.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's hindering businesses on taking on new opportunities by scaling up their businesses, replacing plant and equipment in their factories and the like. So
can you get around that though? Come to someone like Sonja Pfitz and, banks are being difficult to deal with, or, it's hard to sort of work it all out. Is there ways around it? Maybe I'm not framing the question correctly, but is there other options for somebody who wants to move now, or do they have to wait and play, to the bank's rules?
Yeah, there are always alternative lenders. So the banks are what we call tier one. And there are tier 2 and even tier 3 lenders. There's some private lending out there as well. So there's always an alternative.
Great.
But it's about engaging someone like myself to come and see your business, really deep dive into your business and understand what you do and why you do it.
Right.
And then further from there, look at your financials, assess the situation, and then put solutions to you and say, these are our options.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. And that's what this podcast series will do. I mean, it's a bit of an overview, this episode 1. But delving into all that stuff that you just mentioned to sort of really understand it. And it's the first step in a way. We'll give some advice here and then it's up to our listeners to sort of take it further.
That's right, that's right.
Now, the ATO debt levels that you just mentioned, so you're right, during COVID, many businesses thought, well, I'm just going to leave that for now, and now they need to deal with it. How harmful is it to your business and how do you navigate it?
It is actually harmful to your business if you don't address it,
right?
Because obviously the ATO do want their funds to be repaid. It supports not only our economy by having those taxes paid, but it also includes superannuation, which employees are entitled to have their super to be paid. Yep. So there are ways that we can look at supporting getting that ATO debt paid, but at a bare minimum it needs to be put onto an ATO payment arrangement.
Right.
One that is not going to kill the business, that can actually easily be serviced through their normal trading operation.
Are they okay to deal with the ATO as far as on a payment plan, or do they say, no, we want X amount per month, or once you communicate, because if you ignore it, that's the problem, isn't it? If you're sort of trying to put your head into the sand, but if you're communicating, are they okay to help you out?
They are okay to support you, but again, I suggest that you have the right advice from your accountant first before you actually approach the ATO. So you have a strategy already in place on knowing what you can and you can't afford to repay that debt over what period of time. So don't go in blind. Don't go in there and just ring up the ATO and think, oh, they'll cut me a deal. Because if you're not prepared, it will make the situation worse.
Oh, you mentioned stress. It must be stressful, when you've got the ATO debt. You're trying to get a loan and move forward. And I know you're great with your customers and clients. So is part of your role really managing that stress and saying it's okay, there's a way through? Because it must be a bit dark for lots of people.
It is. And you need to be empathetic. Running a business is very difficult. And 80% of the population is employed by SMEs, right?
The engine of the economy.
It is the engine of the economy, and it takes great courage to actually start a business. And I am really passionate about SMEs, and I want to be able to support them through being educated, but also encourage others to buy locally if you can. Support your local manufacturers, support your local transport businesses. If you're in business and you're looking for staff, look at local recruitment agencies on how they can support you. There's always help there. You just need to be able to get the right people around you to reduce those stress levels.
Compassion and empathy and dealing with your client in the right way who might be stressful. Why isn't there more females in the commercial finance realm? And we've spoken about this off this podcast. it seems to be one of those areas that's mostly men. Yeah, so how did you get involved in it as a female, and can we encourage others to do the same?
Yeah, actually, I started in IT initially, and I fell into finance. Through my IT work, I was asked to come and build an architectural structure for a finance company, and I just loved it. I loved the fact that they were dealing with SMEs, and when I would go out on site to work out, okay, how do we implement the IT system to support these customers in communicating with the lender, I was like, wow, you do this? How do you build that? Oh, I didn't know that was how that was built. And all these people that you employ and what you actually have customers overseas. So I fell into finance that way. But unfortunately, a lot of ladies, they may start out in the banking industry. They may even start out working for other lenders. But for one reason or another, they actually leave the industry. And sadly, some of that comes down to their treatment at work, how they've been treated.
Right.
A lot of employers don't realise that as females, particularly those that have families, it's not always easy to work full-time initially.
Right, okay.
So that balance.
So it's a very demanding role. Yeah. There's people don't understand that, the whole sort of what that person's doing in that office, and they're running a family. It could be for men and women.
Yeah.
And you need a real thick skin, and lots of people say, well, I'm out. I've had enough. Okay.
It can create burnout, that's for sure. I see a lot of people leave because of burnout. There's still pay disparity. Great pay disparity, actually.
Right. Oh, we've got to fix that.
Yes, we do have to fix that. But also mentoring. Like, I mentor a lot of ladies to understand the commercial side of finance. So there's the consumer side, so mortgages, people borrowing money for their homes or investment properties. But commercial side of finance is really related to businesses, so business lending, if you like.
So there's a lack of women in both sides, the commercial side and also the normal sort of mortgage lending. Would you say there's more females in any camp?
There is definitely more on the consumer side.
Consumer.
Yeah,
right.
And definitely. So if we're looking at tier one lenders like the banks, there's a lot of women that work in that arena. But on the commercial side, there is very, very few. And, if we look at commercial brokers, I think it's about 5,000 in general. We would make up probably 1% of that.
Yep. We're going to address this too in the podcast series as well. I guess there's an episode on that. Before we go anywhere, Sonja, as far as going to a lender, seeking finance, we need to make sure our business is ready to go and that we are finance fit inside our own sort of doors.
Yes, correct. That's right. So I guess as we've understood the lending landscape, that there's obviously the increase in the interest rates, that's both for secured and unsecured lending. How do we then approach the next phase of the business in terms of, are we seeking lending? Are we looking at our existing financial structures? Are they still the right structures for the business and what we're trying to achieve, not only now but in the future? But before all of that can be done, it's really important for businesses to get their financials in order. Yeah. For the business owners and directors and even executive team members to have a look at their financials. Certainly they need their FY22s to have been completed and their tax returns done.
Yep, up to date with all that stuff.
Up to date. FY23 management accounts obviously done and reconciled back to the previous year.
Right.
And if the business hasn't been trading very well, why? What have been the issues that have caused that decline? Outside of COVID reasons, of course. Right. We know that post-COVID and certainly with this increase in the cash rate, it's caused a squeeze in terms of supply costs, fuel, award wages have gone up, leasing costs have gone up for, the commercial buildings that they operate in. And all of these things need to be addressed inside the financials and forecasts done if they can do them.
Right.
Because they actually support a lending application. The lenders can see this is where the business has been trading and this is what they're projecting they're going to be trading in the next 12 months or 24 months.
So a full sort of business report in a way. So do you hand back a report to you, Sonja? You do all, work on all those different departments that you just spoke about, and then you get the report and it's handed back to the business?
Yeah, so what I normally do is I'll work with the directors or their CFOs or even their account managers and making sure that I assess all of the financials. But not just that, there's other ancillary financial documents that we use to assess the business, things like their their receivables and payables ledgers, which is really how much do their customers owe them and how much do they owe their suppliers. And if there's an imbalance in there, why? Because these are all things that lenders actually look at outside of a profit and a loss and a balance sheet.
Yes.
They also look at things like we just spoke about, the ATO. Where is that at? So if you've got ATO debts, that certainly narrows the field down dramatically. One, on the type of financial product that you can actually apply for, but two, the success of it actually being approved, and also the debt level that you may be wanting, but because the ATO debt's there, you may actually not get it at all, or you might have a significantly reduced level of approved debt in the business. So those things are really important for any business to look at, but they also need to understand too, what's their credit score? Now, this seems to be a bit of a dirty word.
Right.
People go, what's a credit score? Here we go, more financial lingo that I don't understand. But it basically is a score on yourself. So, Pat, you have your credit score, I have mine, but your business also has a credit score too. Yeah. And that credit score essentially says, can Pat or Pat's business or Sonja's business repay their debts?
Okay.
And if they take on more debt, have they got a success chance of actually repaying that debt, or have they been defaulting in the past, which puts a bit of a question mark over it for the lenders. So,
where and how do you get a credit score?
Yeah, so people can get their own credit score free online.
Right.
There's a number of different websites. You can just go into Google and type in My Credit Score.
Yes.
But in terms of getting your credit score on your business, you can ask your commercial broker or even your accountants or lawyers to get that credit score for you. So it is a very good first step, as well as these financials, because if your score is very, very low, again, it will narrow down our avenues on the lenders we can actually approach.
Yes. I'm only a small business and I pay all my bills and I've got the ATO debt and I've got a payment plan going. So I guess would that mean my credit score is good? And second question to that, what size businesses should we be talking to in this podcast series? I mean, would you small operators like me or a bit bigger, are we thinking?
Yeah, so really what we're focusing in on is businesses that have been trading for more than 2 years. Yeah. And we're certainly not pitching this at the BHPs of the world.
Right.
So businesses that, have been trading for more than 2 years, the average SME, right, which in this country ranges from 3 million up to about 110 million in revenues.
Yep. And in different categories as well, we're talking transport and service and consumer, just whatever you run as long as it's a business?
So not so much consumer. So when we're talking businesses, we're looking at really manufacturers, wholesale, transport, labour hire, professional services like yourself or say accountants or lawyers, engineers, those sort of groups. The consumer section is really more around personal lending, and that's sort of on the mortgage sort of space, the other side of the fence. So when we're talking commercial finance, we're really talking sort of B2B or B2C.
And many of those that you described would have some sort of financial structure going on. They might be using a platform to sort of do invoices and things, so they're okay. Because I'm sort of thinking about the listener to this podcast who might have their business in a complete sort of mess when it comes to the finance sector. Not a mess, but it's been left alone and, there's all little loose ends. But mostly the businesses have something there that you can work with as far as the way the finance flows in and out of their business.
Yeah, absolutely. So businesses that have been trading for more years will definitely have an internal accounting system that they use. They need that to obviously submit invoices out to their customers. They've got invoices that the suppliers give them for, whatever they're purchasing from them or services that they're purchasing from them. That all then formulates, a structure around a profit and loss and a balance sheet from there. So SMEs will all have either an internal bookkeeper or accountant to support them. Most of them will have external accountants that will help them prepare their tax returns and finalise their financials for them.
And you work with all these different people when you do your
absolutely.
stuff?
And that's a key part of when we're talking about SMEs need a good counsel around them.
Right.
They need a good accountant, a good lawyer, and they need a good commercial finance broker to help support them grow and thrive.
Did you know many businesses fail due to inadequate funding, poor credit controls or inexperience? That's why you need this podcast, Fit for Business with Sonja Pfitz.
So you've got to sort out your tax debt with the ATO. You've got to make sure sort of your books are up to date. You're doing your financial report, so you know the health check of your business.
Correct.
What else do we need to know to be finance fit and ready to go into the next sort of stage?
Yeah, so if you haven't already engaged a commercial finance broker to support you, to help structure up the options that you have to keep you abreast of where the lending landscape is moving, because it's flowing quite rapidly every month.
Right.
So you have a good understanding around that, because quite often business owners will have one thought in their mind about what they can and they can't get from a lender, but it's quite the opposite sometimes when we look at their financials and see how they've been trading. Really important to get some forecasting done if you can with your external accountant, and have a look at your credit score. Know where you actually sit, because as I was saying before, credit scores can be impacted by a number of different things. So you need to understand where you sit in terms of your credit score, because a lender will look at that first, as well as look at, can you service for this loan, this debt that you're asking for.
The forecasting I like. I'm sort of into this sort of buzzword manifesting, but if you can think in your mind where you're going, and you know where you're going, what the reality is, and you know the numbers of what's flowing in and out of your business, you can then start to create stuff, because you sort of know you're going to. So do you work a monthly or yearly, or can you do, because I sort of think monthly with my little business, and that sort of helps me understand what's coming in per month. So your little tricks that will help you visualise where your business is and move forward. Sonja.
Yeah, correctly. Monthly is definitely the way to go. Most businesses, they've got a template, right? If they've been trading for more than 2 years, they've got a template of how their business has been tracking. They know the ebbs and flows in the year, because obviously coming up to Christmas is the busiest time of year for most industries. January and February a bit quieter because we've got the holiday period. Customers typically stretch out their payments because they're away. And then we get into sort of the latter half of February, March, and business starts running again. There are certain industries like agriculture which are very much affected on seasonality.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the weather gods as well can impact them. But if they look at their base foundation of how they've been performing, they can then look at the opportunities that they can seize by having the right financial solution in their business, and then build the forecast out from there. But as I said, it takes either their internal accountant or external accountant, CFO, to help them construct that properly.
Yes. Sonja, can you give us some examples of what we might be, when you say agriculture, you're buying big equipment to make sure your productivity is better, for example. You say, I need that thing because business is going to be better. What are people getting commercial loans for, and what do you recommend they use the money for?
Yeah, so commercial loans are really used for a range of different elements within the business. You just touched on one, which is equipment, and that could be, trucks, trailers, diggers. It could be forklifts. It could be tooling. It could be moulding equipment in the plastics industry. It could be, big tractors that are out on the farms. It could be lifting up containers if they've got a business that, and I'm just looking at my website there, the containers, you see it out on the wharves, those big forklifts that lift up those containers, all of those sort of things. If you're in IT, it could be sophisticated IT equipment, or even in your case, Pat, could be just audio equipment as well.
Stuff, yeah.
So for equipment is one, and vehicles. The other one is working capital finance to allow the business to be able to fund their suppliers, to be able to pay their wages, to pay their ATO. So that's what we call working capital finance.
Okay. Help with cash flow?
Cash flow, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, see, you're getting the lingo already.
Getting the lingo.
Way to go, Pat.
Is it a good idea to go to the bank to help with? I guess if you've done all your financials and you can deal with it, absolutely, it keeps you trading and you can grow.
As I said, there are a range of different lenders, and some specialise in some of those products that we've just touched on. Yeah. Some do it better than others as well, just like in any business. There are some lenders that do things better than other lenders. But also from there, we've got commercial overdrafts. We've got building finance. So a lot of businesses, they'll operate from their factory or their warehouse. Right. And they may want to buy the building that they're operating from.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It is. And, I've got a couple of franchises that I look after. You probably even used one of them in the past. And, you drive in there and you get your vehicle fixed. They actually own the building that they're operating from. So they need commercial property finance.
That'll take the stress off if you own the building, doesn't it? Because you're paying rent on a regular basis, if you can do that, yeah, it'll really help your business. At least you know that's looked after and we own the building that we're in.
Yeah, so you have a friendly landlord.
Yeah, that's right. But on the other hand, as I say that, maybe it suits you to rent as well. Maybe you don't want to buy it. Maybe there's that.
And some, it's a stepping stone, right? So if they're starting out and they've only been trading for a short period of time, as their business grows, they'll outgrow the premise that they're in. And so until they get to a point where they plateau and they know that they definitely want to stay where they are to service all of their customers and in the region that they're in, then it might be an opportune time to consider buying the building that you're in. But I've also got clients that will have offices in every state. So financially, it's not practical for them to actually buy all the buildings that they're in. And, they might be leasing some and owning some. So there's a bit of a mixture. There's always a mixture. But as I said before, it's really about sitting down with your clients, really understanding their business, feeling like, well, I do anyway, feel like I'm part of their business. So I can help them strategize. I can help them implement the right financial solutions with the right financial products. Because, again, most SMEs, they may have an idea on the right type of finance product that they need, but it may not be the best one for them.
I'm guessing there's a whole bunch of financial products out there that the average person is not aware of, especially in the commercial realm, where something will be there really suitable for you. It's a bank or a financial lender has this product and they want to sell it, and and they need someone who can find those right products and match it to the right businesses.
Absolutely. Like trade finance is becoming very popular here in Australia, and it's assisting businesses that are importing a lot of product into Australia or are dealing with a main supplier here in Australia. They've got a bit of a cash flow squeeze because the supplier wants to only give them 30-day terms, but they're giving their customers a bit more lengthy of time. So by using trade finance, it enables them to actually use that particular lender who specialises in that to extend out their cash flow on that side. So we'll delve into that in another series. And, you've also got other lenders that specialise in payroll services and recruitment costs. So wages is another big component to businesses, particularly those that are employing casual staff.
Yeah, okay. What do you think when you see, government debt? We talk about different states of Australia where the debt's ballooning. I'm thinking of the states, trillions of dollars of debt, and they hit the ceiling, and you sort of think they tend to somehow, I don't know, work it out, or they shift numbers, or it's somehow, is worked out. So from your point of view, when you see that sort of says to me there's always a way out of something because it's massive debt. What are they doing to sort of avoid, the doom and gloom at the end of the process?
Are you talking about government's doom and gloom?
Yeah, well, America, this massive, multi-trillion-dollar debt, I guess they can't put up with it forever. They'll have to address it, but they seem to be kicking the can down the road, and they're doing something to just keep going.
Yeah, I think that's obviously they have internal strategists that help them work out how they can actually repay that debt and the best way to do it for not only their economy but also how they're presented globally overseas, because all of the economies around the world are so intertwined. Certainly Australia is, we have to have funds flowing back into this country. So that's part of the reason our interest rates have gone up. We have to sort of match it with our overseas jurisdictions. Otherwise, we stop people investing in our country, which is the worst thing for us. We need countries around the world to take on our products. So I think every government around the world has their strategists on how they're dealing with it.
Yes.
Is it ever a perfect solution? I don't think the world has actually worked that out yet.
No, right, okay. And as a business, we should take a leaf out of that book. They've got strategists and they're working it out, and they're not sort of, burying their head in the sand. So really, we need to do the similar thing in our worlds and in our business.
Yeah, absolutely. Please don't be the ostrich. Don't be the ostrich.
Yeah.
Even
You're
though
losing sleep.
You lose sleep. I had this in COVID. I had a lot of my clients ringing me after hours. I felt like a psychologist in one way because they were stressed, very stressed. They didn't know how to put food on the table for all of their employees. And some of these people employ 160 people. Some only employ 5, but it's the same stress level. How do they pay themselves and survive themselves? So by getting that right counsel, you will certainly help towards reducing the stress. You're bringing in experts because they're experts at what they do. Now they need experts to come in and support them.
And it's worth investing in that too. I guess, it's going to cost you money, but as you say, it's the stress, you're losing sleep, you need to work out how to move forward. this investment into working it out now is going to just keep you alive.
Yeah, pays off in the end, and it will help you keep on a path which you can clearly see the goals as you go along. You're getting educated along the way to understand the lending landscape, which is very important. And I feel that's something that we've really let our SMEs down on. We haven't sat, and this is why I'm so passionate about this, to sit down and explain it to them in detail.
Yes.
But more importantly, if you are going to invest in having someone to support you, make sure they're qualified.
Okay. Is there ways of checking it out? I guess.
Yes.
Well, do your due diligence in a way.
Yes, see more
I know the
more
stuff.
language.
I know the
Wow,
words, yeah.
it's really
I
good.
should have a list of. I'm going to call them cliches or jargon. List of jargon.
Yeah, terminology. Yeah. So, if you're going to engage in a commercial broker, do your research, find out what their qualifications are, how long have they been doing it for. A mortgage broker is not a commercial finance broker, although some are qualified in both, right? It's really important. But there are commercial finance brokers that just specialise in business, and that's all they do. They don't do the mortgage side as well.
Okay. Yep.
Which is really
what you do.
Yeah, I just specialise in the commercial side, and it's really important to
It feels better to get a specialist, I reckon.
It absolutely is, but it's also, Pat, as we know, with the banks closing down branches, your business banker that you've known for 10 or 5 years isn't there anymore. You've got a revolving relationship manager. Relationship is really important, not only in business but just in your finance, right? So when you're speaking with someone who's going to be a potential commercial finance broker for you, see if the relationship fits. Does it feel right? Does it match your personality? Can I get on with them? Don't worry about gender. It's, do they feel like the right fit for me? Are they investing the time in me?
Yeah.
Because I need to invest time in them to get the right outcome.
And you touched on something. Banks are changing their landscape now. The service is changing. They're sort of doing their thing. So they need somebody where it's a regular point of contact and somebody they can trust and that they connect with, like you say.
Absolutely.
So it's even more so important now because banks sort of, the big banks, they're on their own path in a way, and they're not so keen on sort of providing great service all the time.
I think it's just because they're reducing their staff base down. I think that they do want to provide good service, but they're reducing their staff levels down. They're having to restructure to accommodate, costs. They can't have, I guess, the same number of branches that they had all around the country because it does cost a lot of money to pay the lease on that particular branch, have all those staff. Yeah. Has it impacted service? I can, from my professional experience, yes, it does. Yes. Lenders across the border like that, but you also have lenders that don't have a branch presence. So we're moving a lot to this online world.
Yeah, I've got one of those for my mortgage. Yeah.
So again, relationship is very important, and that commercial broker will be that bridge where you can't get to your business banker, or your business banking branch is now 100 kilometres away as opposed to being 10 kilometres down the road, or I'm dealing with a lender that doesn't have a branch exposure. What else should we cover before we move to episode 2? I think really just looking at, do you have pain points in your business where you need to either address your current financial structure, or you need support to address some of the debt that you've got and you need to move it on and deal with it? Or do you have opportunities that you need to seize at the time, but you don't know how to fund? So we'll talk about in future episodes about the right products that can support not only the pain points, but also the opportunities. Oh, I love that. Yeah, because there must be listeners who are sitting there, and that's great. The opportunity, cash flow's good, they've got the money sitting there, and they want to take the business, they want to do this now. It must be frustrating too, because you want to invest that money and spend it, and you don't know how. How funny is that? You've got the money, you're successful, but what do I do now? If it just sits in the bank, it's dead money in a way. It's savings, but it's not doing anything for you. Yeah, that's right. And how can I use that cash to maybe free it up into other areas but take on debt to actually seize the opportunity? So taking on debt can allow you to take that opportunity up to build your business up. And we'll talk about with Stella about how she used debt to grow her business. Yeah, right. It's very important. Wonderful. Okay, that's fantastic, Sonja. That's episode 1. Thanks for listening to this episode. Stella will join us next. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Stella? I mean, our listeners can join episode 2, but as you say, she's taken her business from strength to strength and doing it the right way. Yes, so Stella owns a company called Boswin Ost Proprietary Limited. She established the business back in 2008 with her husband, Man Wang. The business has grown substantially during that period of time, where they have completed over 3,000 projects, particularly on the rail. So we would have all seen some of Stella's work. Right. And it's a trusted brand in the marketplace. Bosman provides a lot of Australian companies with perimeter security solutions. They supply and design fencing, automatic gates, security systems and metalworks, predominantly for commercial and industrial facilities. Right. But they're also, which I'm so proud of, they are a key employer in the Dandenong region.
Yes.
So they employ quite a lot of staff. They've got a really solid customer base, so supporting other businesses. But I'm really proud of Stella's journey. She is a woman running a very substantial business in a very male-dominated industry. So it will be good to hear how she talks about us through that journey.
Great. All right. Well, that's in episode 2, Fit for Business with Sonja Pfitz. Thank you, Sonja.
Thank you.
Sonja Pfitz has been a commercial finance strategist for SMEs, working in the finance industry for over 27 years. This podcast series is designed to inform you about the lending landscape for your business and to help you implement the right financial solutions to achieve your strategic objectives. Thanks for listening, and look forward to having you join us in the next episode of Fit for Business with Sonja Pfitz.